I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 104 of the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm your gracious host, Greg Lacey. Like we always do about this time, I hope this episode reaches you all in good health, good wealth, and taking care of yourself and your loved ones, as we know how important that is today. Thank you for tuning into the Speak My Peace podcast today. If it's your first time listening, second, third, whatever the case may be, I appreciate you for tuning in and your continuous support. It keeps me going with this podcast. With that being said, please make sure that you are liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing the podcast with friends, family, coworkers, whatever the case it may be. It is greatly appreciated. And if you're not following me on social media, please follow me at Speak My Peace Pod on Instagram. That's the only social media account I have at the moment. With that being said, before we do get into anything in this episode, I do want to say, although this episode is not being released in Black History Month, it has been recorded at the end of Black History Month, so I do want to take the time to commemorate that. Every year, I try my best to make sure that I speak about things. Well, this podcast is centered around the Black experience in itself, but I try to make sure, especially Black History Month, that my episodes are centered around things that are important to us, that it deals with us specifically. And I don't want to miss that opportunity. I felt like I did very well with this episode, or with this year, just detailing personal things, my personal dilemmas, whether it's me and celebrities, whether it's me and entities, whether it's just me and my personal journey in itself. I felt like I covered that this year, but I just wanted to start this episode off with that little disclaimer because, as this month ends and we carry on into the rest of the year, let's keep up this momentum. Whatever you did to commemorate Black History Month, whatever you did to recognize Black History Month, keep that throughout the rest of the year. Let's not forget that. I know there's this common feeling amongst Black people that, we don't really like Black History Month because, quote unquote, they gave us the shortest month of the year and all blah, blah, blah. First of all, Black History Month was not given to us. Black History Month was created by one of us. So we have to dispel that rumor in itself. But with that being said, even if it is the shortest month of the year, we still have to create momentum within that second month of the year and carry it through the following 10 months of the year, because that's important. I think Black History Month to me is a month for me to commemorate pride in who I am, pride in my community, to dignify unity, strength, resilience, wherever the case may be. There's a lot of things that we can do to showcase those, and many other adjectives as well, but there's a lot of things we can do to showcase those adjectives, just to show the importance of Black History Month. So let's not have this negative mindset of it's the shortest month of the year, we don't want it because they gave it to us and it was the shortest month and all that blah, 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 because that's not what's important. What's important is that we have it and we have to do what we can to commemorate it, because there's already a lot of distractions within a month already to take the world's mind off of it. Like, Black History Month starts with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is usually the first week or the second week of the month. So you already had that distraction. Super Bowl is followed up by All-Star Weekend. After that, a lot of times movies are released, big movies are released. You also have to deal with whatever is going on in the media. And then aside from all that, we have awards and stuff going on, such as, the film and TV awards. I think there's music awards that happened in February as well. And then aside from that, we have Valentine's Day. We have President's Day, however people want to recognize that, whatever the case it may be. There's so many distractions for us to take our mind off of this month. And then you pan that with the month only being 28 days long. There's an easy way to get distracted and lose focus on what's actually important, which is commemorating ourselves, which is celebrating ourselves, which is celebrating our family, which is celebrating our friends, which is celebrating our community. We have to continue to commemorate this month, celebrate this month, big up this month, and then carry that on through the rest of the year, because no one's going to do it for us but ourselves. This month is for us and it's by us, and we have to remember that. So as you all know, last week I didn't record an episode, even though the episode was released because I was on vacation. I fully intend on giving you all a breakdown on my vacation. I remember telling you all episode, I believe 100, about how important this vacation was for me just in this point in my life, and just everything I was going through. And this vacation served as everything that I needed it to be. I'm not gonna tell y'all where I'm going because first of all, the vacation was great. No, the vacation wasn't great. It was good. I'm gonna get into why I'm downgrading from great to good. But the vacation was good in itself. I definitely enjoyed myself. Definitely had fun. It was everything I needed at this time. And it just came at the right time. I know a lot of people use, New Year to set out resolutions, set out goals, and just reset and recharge, and things like that. I use my birthday as that because my birthday is so close to New Year since the beginning of the year, but it's also I use it as a time to reflect. And I think that because I always, for past 6 or 7 years, I've been going on vacations every year for my birthday, usually like a week-long vacation. It's like the perfect excuse to reset, recharge, reflect, wherever the case it may be during that time. And so every year I fully intend on using that week to do that. And then this year it was also that. But also this year was so important because I have been going through so much, like I detailed in episode 98, that I had so many changes in my life coming into the new year. And a lot of those changes are changes that, like, they're not easy changes. For one, my lifestyle changing, me going from eating meat all my life and dairy to now me being 2 months in and not eating it, but also not craving it. Again, pause. Thinking about, me getting a promotion at the top of the year, me going through that process of attaining that promotion. That's also a life change. Thinking about my relationship status and me ending a 7-year relationship ending a relationship with my partner of 7 years. That is also like a monumental change. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life that, that shift in my mind state. But in dealing with those things, there are a lot of negative is not the word to use. You go through those things, and the things I just detailed change is never easy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of fumbling on my words, but change is never easy, especially when you've been used to something for so long. Like, especially with me being vegan, like I've been eating that way my entire life, and then cold turkey, I just switched up. That's not easy. Change is never easy. When you're introduced to something new, there's going to be some restriction. Because for one, you have doubt in your mind whether you can do it. But for two, you have to get used to it. And so it's like creating new habits for yourself and things like that. It's not easy. So this vacation really allowed me to just reflect on everything that has gone on for myself the past 2 years, but even beyond that, the past 28 years, even before that. And so for that purpose, it served as a great just getaway. For me, I usually go on vacations and I disconnect from the outside world. I usually go places where I know I won't have phone service. I usually go places, when I do go on vacations, I'm not really on my phone, out on social media. So it's hard for me to, be on the grid. It's hard for me to be in contact with people unless it's like an emergency, which like my mom found a way to contact me through my entire vacation. Just her being a mother, I guess. But that's what I use vacations for, because I can't really find myself disconnecting and resetting and recharging and still, having access to things that I'm used to. And so I use that for that reason, because if I don't do it, my mind is still going to be stuck in that same routine that I've been in. And it's also going to be still stuck in that same environment that it's always in. So for that reason, vacation was great. Again, it really just, the fact that it allowed me to recharge was the greatest thing that I got out of it, aside from me being able to celebrate my birthday and have fun and things like that. I needed that recharge because so far throughout this entire year, I spent the majority of my time working. Like in my professional career, I work X amount of hours a day. And then when I'm not working, I'm dedicating that free time to my personal career, which is this podcast and this brand and building up this network. And so with that being said, 5 days out of the week, the majority of my time, I don't have too much idle time because I'm really in a grind of doing one thing. And then once I do one thing, I'm shifting to the other thing. And with that, I don't really have time. Even on the weekends, I make time to myself on the weekends to, do leisure activities and things like that. But even on the weekends, I still find myself preparing for things as well within my personal life. And so because of that, I've really just had my head down grinding for like the past 2 months. And there was really no way for me to get out of that unless I just shut everything down and stopped. And I couldn't really do that at home because I would still have that desire to, I'm not recording a podcast this week. Well, let me plan for the podcast, next couple of podcasts and things like that. And just have that mindset of constantly wanting to work on things. Like, I'm a very goal oriented person. So it's kind of hard for me to sit still. Like, I always want to be improving something. I always want to be working on something. And so because of that, this vacation really allowed me to just remove that. And I guess it's really just that anxiety and being antsy, and trying to constantly work on something. Like, I left my microphone at home, had my phone, took one of my computers, but it wasn't a computer that I record on. And so I didn't have any ability to really kind of revert to what I wanted to revert to. So it really just allowed me to be free. This is the first vacation I've ever taken where I didn't work out. I really regret that. But I usually, even especially on my birthday vacations, I usually start my birthday off with like a 6 a.m. run. I didn't do that this year. I really was just relaxing and enjoyed the entire week. And so I'm kind of rambling on, but I say all that to say that I think that we as human beings, we have to, especially with all that's going on in the world right now, we have to take those breaks. It don't have to be a vacation, or it could be a vacation. What vacation means to me may be different from you. It don't have to be leaving the country. It don't have to be leaving your home. It don't have to be leaving your state. But whatever a vacation, whatever a getaway, whatever a break is to you, we should, if we are able to, because I know a lot of people aren't able to, but if you are able to and you have the means to, you should at least take a 4-day vacation once a year. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why I believe that, is because our bodies and our minds are machines. And so we find ourselves getting these habits or in these routines of working X amount of days a week, having time off on the weekend, and going back and doing it for another 5 days, and doing that for 12 months throughout the year. And then the next year doing the same thing over and over. And we have to remember that our bodies and our minds are machines. And what comes with machines, especially, let's put it in an analogy of a car, you have to take care of it. Like, you have to have maintenance on certain things within your car. And it's the same thing for your mind and your body. Your mind and your body has to have, whether it's self-care, self-love, whether that's reading, whether that's meditating, whether that's getting out, whether that's taking a break from your normal routines, whether that's creating normal routines. These things are important because we get stuck in these routines for too long. It could affect us negatively, and that toll that it bears on us, it can cause serious effects. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I've seen it. I'm pretty sure you've seen it, to where people, they go through their lives and their entire lives is working, and they look back and they may be 40 years old, maybe 50 years old, maybe 60 years old, and they say, damn, I spent the most of my life working, and I didn't really get to enjoy life because I was working to, provide for my family. I was working to get out of this hole that I was in. I was working just because that's just what I've grown used to. And so they don't really get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And remember, I told you on episode 100 about, I was that person going on vacation and not really enjoying the fruits of my labor and having that mind state of, I'm not supposed to be here. And I told you all that I was going to go on this vacation. And the reason why I was excited for it is because I was wanting to get rid of that mind state. And I did. I successfully got rid of that. I was truly able to take in the fruits of my labor and my hard work. I went to, again, I like to go to places that look like paradise, or whatever I imagine paradise to be. And the fact that I can afford to go to these places and be in these places and have fun in these places, it's a direct reflection of all the hard work I've put in for my entire life. If those things were not meant for me, then I would not be in those places. But I find myself in those places year after year because of all that I've done. And so this year, it was definitely it was a game changer, because I finally went into it with that mind state, and it was freeing. Like, it felt good to be present. It felt good to be one with myself. It felt good to just take in all that I've done, and it felt good to really reflect on the journey that I've taken to get to where I've gotten to. And I encourage you all to do the same. Again, vacation to me may be different than what it means to you, but whatever a vacation is or whatever a break is to you, you shouldn't indulge in it, because life is crazy right now. Life been crazy, but all that's going on around the world, whether it's the wars, whether it's the global health pandemic, whether it's all the evil that's out in the world, there is a lot that's affecting us, and we don't realize it right now because it's kind of become the norm. But like, once all that died down and we try to revert back to what we thought was the norm, or what we remember to be the norm before 2020, we're going to start to see the effects on what these past 3 years have done to us. And so while we are in it, we have to do whatever we can to really just improve our mental state, because there's no way it was no way to prepare for the state that we are in now. But we are in it, and most of us are surviving. Unfortunately, some people didn't survive, but most of us are surviving. And that there's a true testament to that we can do whatever we can get through whatever we need to get through. But with that same mind state, we also have to, enjoy life. We also have to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We also have to reflect on how we got to where we are and all that important things. Now, to get back to why I downgraded it from great to good is because, for one, this past couple years, one of my biggest pet peeves have become going on excursions in the Caribbean, and the companies I go on excursions with not allowing me to use my GoPro. Like, first of all, I bought a GoPro because of this type of thing. GoPros are accessible underwater. You can record yourself, you can take pictures of yourself, whatever the case it may be, and you can document, your memories. And so I literally bought a GoPro for that reason. This past week, I went scuba diving twice, have no records of it, because the companies I booked with did not allow me to take my GoPro because they wanted to film for themselves so they can charge me an arm and a leg. I'm a very frugal person, so I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I did not buy the pictures. I did not buy the videos because I already paid a lot to go scuba diving. So why the hell I'm gonna pay a lot more to pay for something that I could have done for myself for free? And it's nobody's fault but mine, because last year on my birthday, I went on an excursion, a water excursion, when I went to Cancun. And again, it was another company that didn't allow me to use my GoPro. And so I told myself this year, before I book anything, I'm going to call ahead just to make sure that they allow me to use my GoPro. And the only reason why I didn't is because I'm a procrastinator. And I literally did not, like, we booked the excursions maybe like the night before we went on them. So it may have been like 8 o'clock and then we went on the excursion. Or may have booked at 8 p.m. Then we went on excursion at 8 a.m. And so I didn't have time to call and check whether or not. But I still knew that when I booked it that I should have done it. And so I should have double checked in the morning when I had time to. But I just didn't care. And then I got to the place and didn't allow me to use it. And that pissed me off. It kind of put a damper in my trip because I like, having that type of memories and not having to pay extra for it. And then another reason why I downgraded it from great to good, it's probably the most important reason. Actually, it's equally as important as the last one, was the food. The food was very underwhelming. And that's the reason why I'm not going to tell y'all where I went, because I don't want to be on here telling y'all that a certain city, a certain country has terrible or bad food. Because it's not, I just don't want to do that. Like, if I was listening to a podcast and somebody was telling me that the food in Compton is bad, I probably feel a certain way. So I'm not going to do that. There may be listeners out there that's listening to this podcast and they may not listen to it ever again. So I'm not going to tell y'all where I went, but it was in the Caribbean. And I usually, one of the reasons why I go to the Caribbean is because I love seafood. I especially love shrimp, grilled shrimp, whatever type of shrimp other than cocktail shrimp. And so every year I go to the Caribbean, get some bomb seafood, and I'm excited. This the reason why I was so disappointed is because I had been looking forward to this week for that specific reason. Like I told you all that I started off this year going vegan. But even though I started off this year going vegan, I told myself the week of my birthday was going to be that 1 week that I indulge back into my old eating habits, and then I'll get back to it after I come back home. So I have been looking forward to this. Like my vegan journey hasn't been difficult. Personally, like it's the transition has been seemingly easy. But this entire time I have been looking forward to this week for this specific reason. So I get there and first meal I had was some shrimp tacos. I got there kind of late. Had some shrimp tacos and they were like whatever. And I couldn't tell if they were whatever because my body was like rejecting it because I had been eating a certain way for 7-8 weeks, or it was just whatever. And so that first night, kind of like that being my first experience, being my first meal that I had there, I was disappointed. So I was like, okay, well, let's hope that this improves over the next couple of days. And it just never didn't. And so still to this day, I don't know if it was bad to me because my body was rejecting it or it was just bad. Actually, the food wasn't bad. It was just average. And I didn't expect the food to be average. So that is the main reason why I downgraded from great to good. But all in all, the experience in itself was great. Again, I encourage you all to do the same if you have the means to. I know life happened. People have kids. I'm able to do this because I don't have any responsibilities other than paying my rent and my bills. But I know people have kids, people have families, and it's kind of hard to do those things. But if you are able to, you should indulge in things like that because it honestly, sometimes it's a life changer. Like I remember my first time really going on vacation, it opened my eyes really wide because although I travel a lot within the States, I had never been anywhere outside of the States. And so when I first took that first trip to see water so blue, see water so clear, see these turquoise water, it really going back into me reflecting on where I've come from. I've never expected to see that type of water. I've always heard about it. I've seen it in movies. I hear it, my favorite rappers rap about it. And now here I am year after year going to these places my favorite rappers rap about. That in itself is an experience. And so I'm going to continue to take these trips. But that's the main reason why I encourage a lot of people to do it because it really just opens your eyes to a new world, and that experience and being introduced to new cultures and new cultures and new settings and places you just never thought you would be in. It's truly a life shifting experience. Not to sound corny, but that is what it is to me. And again, I'm glad that I did it this year with everything that's been going on in my life. Like I needed it to reset and just get my mind right. So now I'm really focused, even more determined than I was the week prior to me leaving, because I was able to get away for a while, not worry about work, not worry about this podcast, not worry about whatever I had been dealing with back at home. And so now I have a focused mind state going into everything, and I can attack everything with a more clearer head. So that was definitely great for me. On the eve, not even on the eve, the day that I left. So I know that you all probably listened to this episode and expecting me to speak about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I'm not going to do that. This is not the podcast for that. I'm sorry to break that to you all, but if it's your first time listening to the podcast, you can go back 103 episodes and see that is not the theme of this podcast. But the reason why I bring it up now is because that is how I ended my vacation, was just at the airport scrolling through media. And the day that I left was the day, I believe, it either was the day of or the day after Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't want to sound inconsiderate, and it's a privilege for me to even be speaking about I'm leaving vacation while a third world country is being invaded by another country. That in itself is a privilege. It sounds crazy for a black person to be speaking about privilege, but that is a privilege because of where I grew up at. While I'm on vacation, there are other people in another country who are fleeing for their lives. But so I saw that information as I'm, traveling, getting ready to come back home. And the main reason why I'm not speaking on this podcast, for one, I'm not well read up on everything that's going on. I know all that was building up and leading up to it, but I really just didn't consume all that information that was going on. Like I was, again, had this freeing mind state, had this recharged mind state. And although this information was being fed to me, I was kind of rejecting it because it was like, that's not what I want to consume. Like we are what we consume, whether that's food, whether that's information, whether that's energy, whatever the case may be. Whatever we consume, it takes a part of us. And so I felt like if I was to consume that, it really would have affected my mental state at that point negatively. Again, that sounds inconsiderate, but I don't know how else to express that that's the reason why I didn't want to cover it. Aside from that, just not even fitting into the theme of this podcast. But with that being said, I do want to say that my heart goes out to all those people. Like, to see those videos of those families fleeing their country because of another country invading them and killing people and dropping bombs, and it's terrible. The images that I seen and the videos that I seen was terrible. The images of fathers parting ways with their family because they are enlisting to protect their country is terrible. Like, it's something that no one wants to go through. To see mothers fleeing with their child or their children, it is terrible. And so because of that, like, I feel for them. I don't want to say I'm not going to cover it in this episode or on this podcast because I don't care about them, because I do. Like, as a human being, I feel terrible to see those things. But this is just not the podcast. Like, if you want recommendations to read up on that or hear about those things, and I can give you recommendations, but this is not the podcast for that. With all that being said, though, and all these images that I've seen, all those videos I've seen, all this information that I've read, in the midst of all that, these people in Ukraine still had the time to be racist. I saw this, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it said. I saw this quote on Amanda Seales' page that said, "Racism does not take a break. It doesn't take a break in a pandemic, which we've seen for the past 3 years, and it doesn't take a break during a war, which we've seen for the past 300 to 400 years, dating back to the earliest war." But what I'm speaking about is, and I'm pretty sure most of you have seen it as well, is the videos of the African citizens in Ukraine being denied access to the trains that are transporting the citizens out of the country. Now, this is something that's aligned with the themes of this podcast. This is something I've covered, but again, I didn't read too much up on it, so I don't know too much about it. But I did see the images, and that was enough for me to speak about it in short length. It's unfortunate that these things continue to happen. Like, you have a country invading your country, killing innocent people, killing babies, killing women, killing child, killing men, just killing people with no remorse. And despite all that, you still have the time to deny access to a certain group of people because of what they look like. Think about how, and I know y'all probably hate, I'm saying this word so much this season. Think about how inhumane that is. Like, you cannot be a human to carry out such an act. That you're stopping a mother with children in her hands from accessing a train. They're basically their ticket to freedom. You're denying them access to things like this because you're racist. That's nothing but the devil. And I don't mean to get religious or spiritual, whatever the case may be, on this podcast, but that's devilish. Like, it's no way that you're a human. There's no way that you have feelings. There's no way that you have a heart. There's no way that you have sympathy, empathy, whatever the case may be. There's no way that you have any of those things inside. There's no way that you have a soul for you to see everything that's going on, see the landscape, see buildings getting blown down, seeing bombs drop from the air, seeing people getting gunned down, seeing tanks rolling through the city and killing people, and you still have the time to deny people access to something because of the color of their skin or because of their origin. This is why it's so hard when things like this go on in wars for black people to really care, because it's like, yeah, that's sad, all that is going on, but there's black people there, right? How are y'all treating them? And then we see videos and images like this plastered on social media and within news outlets and things like that. So when you ask me why this is not that theme of me covering Ukraine and Russia doesn't fit the theme of this podcast is because Ukraine and Russia don't give a damn about black people. They don't give a damn about me. They don't give a damn about you. And that's been shown. Again, my heart goes out to all the innocent lives that have been lost. My heart goes out to all the people whose lives are in jeopardy, because death in itself is never something that's good. And I will stand by that. I don't care who you are, what you are. For you to lose your life, it's unfortunate. That is something that, no one should ever have to deal with, especially families, and seeing, especially being a survivor of something and then having to lose a family member, lose a friend, lose a relative, whatever the case may be. That's not something that I wish upon anyone. But it's like it puts a damper in how much I care, or the extent that I care about everything when I see things like this. I hate to end on a somber note, but I'm going to end on a somber note. That's the Speak My Peace podcast for this week. My what to watch for this week is Snowfall. Season 5 just started. I just caught up on the first 2 episodes. Again, I was away on vacation. I didn't have access to watch it while I was away. So as soon as I got home, that's the first thing I did. The first 2 episodes are kind of slow to me. I know this is the first official season without John Singleton. I think last season was the first season without John Singleton, but he still may have had some hand in writing and things like this. But I think this is the first official season without John Singleton. Rest in peace. I hope that I feel like the preview for what's to come for the rest of the season, it looked like it's going to pick up, but I hope it just doesn't take too long to pick up, because last season ended with a bang. Last season, I felt like it was turned up from episode 1 to episode, I don't know what last episode was. And so I hope that they pick it up fast, but I'm excited that it's back. One of my favorite shows ever. And so I'm definitely excited for that. Again, my what to watch for this week is Snowfall. That's the Speak My Peace podcast for this week. I'm out.